Hi, my name is Ashley Clark, and this is my video biography for TED 640. I'm not really sure the best way to do this because I don't love being on camera. So I'm going to try to answer each section and then take a break and do another section. So the first section is my attitudes and beliefs on writing. Um, so the first question, what does it mean to write? I think that means literally putting pencil to paper, pen to paper, hands to keyboard, hands to cell phone. I think that writing has taken on a lot of different identities lately, and I think that technology has a lot to do with that. So it's not necessarily um, paper on pencil anymore, which is exciting. Um, what is a writer? I think anyone that tries. I think you don't have to always think of it in the sense that, who is a writer, publishing a book, but who is a writer is anyone that's writing. So that's sometimes what I think people don't realize is if I send a tweet or if I write a grocery list, I am a writer. Um, so what do writers do? They write. Um, I think that there's almost different levels of writing. So, meaning, if I am writing a grocery list or a tweet, then I'm sort of informally writing. And then if I am informally writing, but I'm choosing to share, which the one of the videos pointed out why teach writing, then I think I'm sort of upping the ante and I'm taking that to the next level and sharing my writing. And then there's formal writing, and professional writing, which means that you have an audience and people want to read what you're writing. So what is a text? What kinds of texts do writers write? If I was a middle schooler, I would answer this differently because a text would come on my phone, right? Um, but I think a text is anything that we're reading. And that can also be misleading, just like the writing question. So a pamphlet from a museum or reading a billboard, anything that has writing on it is considered text. And so as teachers, I think we need to explore different kinds of text. Do I write on a daily basis? Yes. Um, I have been writing a lot more now that I'm in grad school and especially summer school. But on an everyday basis, yes. I feel like that has a lot to do with being a teacher because I'm constantly trying to model writing and teach writing. I'm always writing myself notes because I have terrible memory. And so I often write for, um, a practical purpose, um, sometimes more than, a formal purpose. What tools do I use for writing? I'm an old school kind of person and I love to take notes on paper. I love to write on articles. Um, I love to write on little scraps of paper and post-it notes and sort of have them scattered everywhere. I do use my phone and I do use a computer, but I'm sort of a traditionalist when it comes to wanting to write actually on paper. And my purposes for writing are really sort of everyday, sort of, daily reminders, daily lists. As, except when I'm in school, so I'm writing for class and that sort of thing. Um, what do you like to write and why? What do you hate to write and why? Um, I really don't mind writing at all. Writing has kind of come easily to me, and I think that's why I enjoy teaching language arts. Sometimes that can get in the way because if it comes so easily for me, then it's hard for me sometimes to work with students and help them through different roadblocks that I may not understand or see. So really, I like to write anything. Um, how else do you use writing in your daily life? I feel like I've answered that, so I'm not going to bore you again. What else might be important for us to know about your attitudes and beliefs about writing? Um, I really do want to hit my point earlier that writing sort of comes easily to me, and so sometimes I think that gets in my it's a blinder, like when I'm working with students, because sometimes I don't understand how it could be difficult or hard. I just want them to um, see it as easily as I do, and so sometimes that's difficult. Okay, so the second section is my personal history with writing. So the first question is, what is my earliest memory of writing and writing instruction? I'm one of those people that doesn't remember learning how to read or write. It's just one of those things that I've done, and I can't remember um, like direct instruction on writing. I definitely remember like the stencil, like the penmanship kind of worksheets, like trace the A, trace the B, that kind of thing. Um, I definitely remember the hamburger model with like the bun, like the top bun with the intro and the bottom bun with the closing, and then the meat inside. Um, Beyond that, I don't really remember a whole lot about how I learned exactly. Um, who was influential in helping you develop as a writer? I definitely think I had the same language arts teacher in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and she was definitely challenging and would sort of edit all over our papers in green pen. And so she definitely helped, I think, my organization. I also had a teacher in high school. His name was Mr. Winston, and he did not like fluffy writing. And I am still guilty of being a fluffy writer sometimes, and maybe a fluffy talker. I don't know. Um, so he definitely helped a little. I'm still guilty to sort of help me whittle down to what was really important. What kinds of writing did you do growing up? I really liked to journal. I had several journals. I was never good at following through and finishing them, I'm remembering, but I also really liked to blog when our house got a computer. So I really liked online typing. Um, and I really just like writing in general. I've answered that. I sort of had brain fart. I'm sorry. What previous coursework have you completed that has helped you to become a better writer or teacher? I have to share, and it's one of our books, so I just wanted to sort of put this out there. I finished up teaching writing in the content area with Dr. Davis in the spring semester, and she is fabulous. So if you are next door to her in the education building, please tell her how wonderful she is. So we actually read the Daniels book, teaching content, teaching writing in the content area. And so I really think I also teach I teach writing. I'm sorry, language arts and social studies, and so that helped me in social studies sort of open the door to more writing there. So that was super beneficial. What else might be important for us to know about your personal history as a writer? My family would tell you that I used to brag all the time that I won a 5th grade DARE contest, the Dare to Keep Kids Off Drugs. I wrote an essay and printed it on confetti paper, little bits of confetti in the paper, and won and got to read it. And apparently I was really obnoxious about bragging about it. But no, in general, I just really enjoy writing, so. Okay, the third section is about my professional background. And just to give you another reminder, I teach 6th grade language arts and social studies in High Point. I've been there for 5 years. So how do I feel about teaching writing? I'm going to be honest. It's not my favorite because I feel like I really well, let me back up. I feel like this past year it was really difficult because I had a group of students who found it really challenging and were really turned off anytime I would ask them to write. It hasn't always been like that. Like, I've had a few groups that really enjoyed it, but I feel like when you encounter a group whose attitude is sort of negative about writing, it's hard because you sort of have to help them see past that. What type of writing do you feel most or least excited about teaching? I find that students don't mind creative writing. Obviously, this is a generalization, but for the most part, if they get to make up the prompt, the characters, everything, then they don't mind it. I think that they do not like structured informational writing. I think they find it challenging because sometimes I think they struggle with the organization of it, and so that makes it difficult for them. What types of lessons, assignments do you present to your students do you feel most excited about? I have to be honest, and I hope I don't babble too long, but we do debates in my room. It was something that I tried on a whim, and it has been so successful over the years. So students, we present a topic. Often there's like a hook, or like we read an article or watch a video, and then I present this question and I let them bat it around for a second, and then students actually get to organize teams and research different sides. And sometimes they research the same side, and it's just who's going to solve it better, who's going to have the best proposal. And so then they do have to research and take notes, which is normally not terrible. They don't resist that too much. But then they actually have to put together a proposal or a defense for their team. And because it's normally something they're interested in, and it's, current events type things or relevant to their lives, normally they don't mind it and they get pretty excited. Tell us about yourself as a writing teacher. I think the best outlook to have as a teacher in general is that you could get better. And so that's definitely how I feel about writing. I think my issue with writing is I'm just not sure how to structure the time in the classroom. When you're getting pushed to work on reading comprehension and answering questions, it's hard to structure some specific writing time. And so I'm not sure I've really found a space for that in my classroom. Describe a typical writing lesson in your classroom. Typically, it's embedded in a different assignment or a different avenue, so it's not like sole writing time. So we may read something and respond, or read something and develop or analyze something about our reading. I think that sometimes I struggle with the actual instruction part. So what I mean by that is sometimes I just think I expect them to write without maybe giving them the building blocks to that, if that makes sense. What types of writing do you teach? I do a lot of creative writing because I think that sort of hooks them. And then with social studies and then different prompts in language arts, it is a little bit more heavy in the informational text because I think there's been such a push for reading informational text. And so I think the two go hand in hand. Have you taught writing or content area writing in the past? I do teach social studies, so I try to integrate that. In what context? Social studies class. What approaches or activities have you tried? What experiences, if any, have you had with struggling writers? I tell you just I don't know if this is further down in the questions, but a cool activity we did was working with a lot of perspective and point of view writing this year. So for example, every social studies unit we did, different groups of students would assume different roles and then write based on their roles. So for example, if we were doing like a World War II unit, they may write from the perspective of, a soldier in the army versus like a wife waiting at home, that kind of thing. So they have the different perspectives. What are some things you think about when planning a writing lesson? This year, if I could be comical for a second, I always worried that I would have to like strap on a bulletproof vest when I gave a writing assignment because I feel like the air in the room would just like leave. And at times I thought I'd have to like protect myself. I also always get the question, how long does it have to be? How many sentences are in a paragraph? And so I do encounter struggle writers, and I'm not sure I've really found what works other than just trying to be supportive and trying to give them, maybe like an organizational format that would help them. What are some of the challenges you've encountered when teaching writing to students? Do you ask for help from colleagues and others when you encounter these challenges? If so, where do you usually go to help for help? I have encountered challenges. Typically, I'll go to last year's teacher or our reading specialist, sometimes our curriculum facilitator, for strategies or activities. A lot of times I'll go on Pinterest or just Google searches, find different teaching blogs. I'm definitely not afraid to ask for help, but I do find that you need to find what works for your kids, and so sometimes that's tricky. How do you know if you've met your writing instructional goals? When you feel that a writing lesson is successful, what do you do? Dance. When you feel like a writing I can't read today, obviously that's the problem. When you feel like a writing lesson is not successful, what do you do? Cry? No, I'm just kidding. I feel like the writing instructional goals are met when students are organizing and explaining and expanding on their writing. My ultimate goal is when students don't mind writing, or at least they can do it just to get the assignment done. I obviously want them to understand how and why they will encounter writing later on in life and why it's important. And so that's sort of like a overall goal, which is, a very lofty goal. But I do get excited when they are great at writing. I try to share that excitement during like writing conferences or, post-it notes on the individual paper. When it's not successful, I try to take ownership of it. I try to tell students, well, this one didn't go well, and try to do better next time. Okay, if I haven't talked you to death, the last section is all about my learning goals for this course. So what are my goals for TED 640? I'm really curious about the writing journal. I think that I haven't really found the organizational trick that works in the classroom, so I'm excited to try to incorporate some of the activities that we do into my plans for next year. And generally sort of learn about some structure, like how other teachers carve out time, or what their schedules look like, and how I can maybe mimic some of that. What do you hope to learn about teaching writing in school? Why are these goals? I really feel like students need to know how to write. I think they need to know how to write based on their audience and their purpose, and so that's something I'm really excited to learn. Do you believe you'll be successful in meeting these goals during the course? I hope so, although I really, I think we get to work with the Young Writers Camp, so maybe that's an opportunity to practice some. I don't think I'll know about the organization of the classroom, obviously, until next year, but I'm definitely excited to try and keep in touch. And last but not least, what else might be important for us to know about your learning goals for this course? I'm really excited, and I know a few of the names on the roster, but I'm hoping that I get to talk to other teachers. I have been in courses a lot where the students have not been in a classroom yet, and so that's a little challenging because I love listening to how other people do things, and so I'm excited to collaborate and work with other teachers.